Today's video comes from a longtime commenter of the channel and one that has given me so many amazing ideas that when I went into this video, I struggled with which one to do. But there was something about this specific topic that really stuck out to me. Maybe it's because Inside Out 2 is coming out later this year, or maybe it's just the nostalgia for all these movies. But whatever it is, let's get into Pixar characters as DC villains. Let's create some chaos. Every person has a wide range of emotions that they express in their everyday life. The joy of meeting up with a friend, the anger when someone cuts you off on the highway, or the sadness of having to go to work. By the time they reach adulthood, most people have a pretty good handle on their emotions and can control them with little effort. For some, though, it's easy to let their emotions control them. Riley Anderson had experienced a lot of drastic changes in her life at a young age. At 11, she moved from Minnesota to Central City, leaving all her friends behind, and it was all downhill from there. A series of awkward and embarrassing interactions made it really hard for Riley to make friends in the coming years, and things weren't much different at home. Riley and her parents moved to Central City because her father had gotten a new job. Due to this, both her parents were constantly busy and couldn't make time for Riley. Her dad was still getting settled into his new job, while her mom was getting settled into the new house. A combination of hard times at school, the parental neglect, and homesickness took its toll on Riley's emotional and mental health. After a long pattern of misfortune, Riley decided the only way she could feel happy again was to move back to Minnesota, even if she had to go there alone. One night, while her dad was working late and her mom was preoccupied unpacking boxes, Riley snuck into the kitchen and swiped some cash from her mom's purse. She packed a small bag full of essentials and crept out of the house into the cold night. The streets were busy, so no one batted an eye at Riley as she hustled down the street. Even still, Riley kept her head down as she made her way towards the bus station. She blocked out all the sounds of cars, people, and sirens, and just kept moving until an explosion knocked her off of her feet. For the first time since she left her house, Riley lifted her head and saw a crowd of police officers circling around a bank across the street, and civilians scattering in every direction. She was transfixed on the scene, curious as to what was going on. Riley got her answer almost immediately when a burst of color exploded from the bank's front door and a man stepped out onto the street. The man was named Roy G. Bigelow, or better known as the Rainbow Raider. Riley was too occupied with the scene that she couldn't make out what the police or Rainbow Raider said to each other. Instead, she only saw a beam of red light making its way towards the police. Riley shielded her eyes from the intense light, unsure of what was about to happen. But when she looked back at the scene, the police were all gone, replaced by a single scarlet figure, the Flash. Rainbow Raider fired another burst of light towards the Flash, but even the speed of light was slower than the Scarlet Speedster. He dodged the beam with ease, but failed to notice Riley behind him. He tried to move her out of the way, but he reacted too late. Riley was bathed in red light that faded as quickly as it appeared. For a minute, all was silent. The Flash feared the worst, as he was all too familiar with Rainbow Raider's ability to alter a person's emotions with his light beams. Under the weight of all the misfortune and hard times, the red light had a much more dire effect on Riley than both Rainbow Raider and the Flash had expected. Riley grew in stature, becoming a massive, hulking figure. Her eyes began glowing, as the victims of Rainbow Raiders usually did, but additionally, her head also went up in flames. The now monstrous Riley let out a fearsome roar as the Flash ran up to her and tried to calm her down. He first tried to reason with her, but Riley was blinded by rage and was ready to attack anything that moved. Clear that he wasn't getting through to Riley by just talking, especially while simultaneously trying to dodge Rainbow Raider's attacks, the Flash had changed his tactics. Knowing the effects of each of Roy's different lights, the Flash tried to cancel out the effects of Riley's rage with different emotions. Not to much avail, though. Joy, sadness, fear, and disgust all did nothing to sedate Riley. In fact, the emotions seemed to be stacking onto one another, though the Flash didn't notice that until it was too late. Trying to come up with a new plan, the Flash was focused on dodging Rainbow Raider's attacks when a jet of water knocked him off his feet. He turned his attention back to Riley and saw that one of her arms was dripping water. Not only that, but her arm was turning blue. Upon closer inspection, Riley's skin was turning all sorts of different colors that corresponded with the lights that Rainbow Raider hit her with. Roy's emotional lights had awakened Riley's metahuman genes that allowed her to control different powers based on her emotions. Being hit with the multiple light beams allowed Riley to use all of her powers simultaneously, unintentionally creating a huge problem for the Flash. Riley stomped on the ground and set out a purple shockwave towards the bank where Rainbow Raider was standing. The sidewalk underneath him began to crack and fall away, but the Flash was able to grab him before he fell down a hole. When the two of them turned their attention back to the street, Riley was gone. The Flash took Rainbow Raider back to Star Labs, and together they worked on a way to try and find Riley and turn her back to normal. Flick McPhant was never big on following the herd. All throughout his life, he tried to stand out by going against the grain. Unfortunately, standing out wasn't always a good thing. Flick was smarter than most folk and genuinely did want to help the world with his inventions. However, his inventions needed a lot of improvement before they could benefit society. While Flick was able to make breathtaking devices with benignant intentions, his clumsiness often did more harm than good, often getting him into trouble with the school system, which didn't please his folks too much. Having to constantly pay for the damages Flick caused to the school's various facilities put a strain on his parents' already small savings. It especially didn't help that they were also in debt to the Falcone crime family, and having to pay them a set amount each year until the debt was cleared. One year, Flick caused so much damage to the school with his inventions that his parents didn't have enough money when Carmine Falcone sent his goons to collect it. As compensation, Falcone's goons took Flick, saying he'll be returned when they were able to pay up. Falcone had Flick stay in a nicely furnished room and gave him anything he asked for, no matter how unconventional Flick's request might have been. He wanted the young man to be comfortable for the time he was staying with them. Taking advantage of his captor's hospitality, Flick asked for an abundance of metal and machine parts and continued inventing. As time went on, Flick realized he was coming to enjoy his time under Carmine Falcone's watch. He was given everything he asked for, and no one stopped him or criticized him when he was inventing things. Flick stayed with the Falcone family for several months, inventing every day. One night, while he was working on a bird-like drone, he heard commotion from down the hall. He closed the panel on the drone and sent it out the door. Using the drone's camera, he was able to see what the source of the chaos was. A handful of people were armed with guns and had nervous looks on their faces. Their heads were on a swivel, as if they were expecting someone or something to jump out at them. He noticed a dark streak move past the camera. A couple of men screamed before the feed suddenly cut out. Back in the room, Flick could hear the muffled sound of gunshots and lots of grunting and groaning. Suddenly, the door to his room was ripped off its hinges, and a man dressed in all black and resembling a bat stood before him. As soon as Falcone's goons left with their son, Flick's parents headed straight for the Gotham City Police Department to report the incident, regardless of what harm it might bring them later on. Commissioner Gordon called on Batman to find Flick, and after a lengthy investigation to find out where Falcone was holding the kid, launched a rescue mission to get him back. Batman held out his hand toward Flick and motioned for the boy to come with him, but he hesitated. After several months of being looked after by Falcone and his men, Flick had become accustomed to his new life. Here, no one made him out to feel like a burden for not wanting to fall in line. In fact, he felt encouraged to keep inventing. Flick turned his back on the bat, stating that he would rather stay with Falcone than go back to the life he had before. Batman tried to convince him otherwise, but Flick made up his mind. He walked over to the corner of his room and grabbed a remote off his desk. He pressed a button on it, and suddenly Flick was covered in a blue armored suit. He told Batman that he was willing to fight to stay with the Falcone family. Not wanting to fight a child, Batman fled, swearing to himself that he would make sure Flick got home safe. After a few minutes, Carmine Falcone came into Flick's room to make sure the kid was okay. When Falcone saw the suit he was wearing, he was impressed. Falcone had known Flick had a knack for inventing, but never thought he would make anything the crime family could actually use. Now that Flick had willingly chosen to stay with them, he might be able to help in their operations. As the years went on, Flick would go to invent a number of different weapons for Carmine Falcone and his goons, and even went on many jobs himself, donning his blue armor. Flick and Batman would go toe-to-toe a couple of times, but the Bat would always hold back, believing that one day Flick might come to his senses and return home. Real quick interruption to remind everyone here that KyngPin Recreations, our community redraw here on the channel, has been launched and the first prompt is up, as you can see on the screen here. Deadline is on the screen, which is February 16th, and feel free to submit either the Discord link or the email down in the description below. Can't wait to see what y'all make. Let's get back to the video. Woo! There are many who are afraid of the dark. The dreadful sense of the unknown. That feeling that you may not be alone with something just out of your field of vision. What would you find if you turned on the light? Would you come face to face with a monster? Or would you see that it was all inside your head? Do you believe the monsters are real? Mary Stitch concentrated real hard on the space in front of her. She formed a picture of a fantastical world in her mind and felt the picture flow from her head to her fingertips. She could feel her fingertips vibrating, but nothing else happened. Mary dropped her arms and let out a deep sigh. She had been training with John Constantine for a week, but still couldn't open portals to other dimensions. Constantine told her that it would be a long while before she could even attempt to do something of that caliber, but Mary couldn't wait. When she was just a kid, Mary found a mysterious portal in her bedroom late one night. Not knowing any better, she stepped through it and found herself in a world of monsters who harbored human fear as an energy source. However, during her time in that world, she was able to befriend one of the monsters that she called Kitty. Kitty had helped her find her way back to her bedroom, and that was the last time she saw him. Ever since, Mary had been trying to find a way to see her friend again. Mary's parents and many therapists tried to convince her that her adventure into a world of monsters were all part of her active imagination, but Mary wouldn't budge. She knew what she had experienced, and she knew that it was real. She would spend countless hours in the library after school learning all she can about other dimensions and how to travel between them. She came across a number of books detailing how one could travel to other dimensions, some based on science and others based on magic. Mary figured she wasn't cut out for the science route and opted to try magic to find her way back to her friend. Mary spent several years unsuccessfully trying to open a portal to another world, inadvertently learning some other magic spells along the way. Eventually, this haphazard use of magic caught the attention of John Constantine, who decided to take Mary under her wing to properly teach her. Unfortunately, learning magic was a long and arduous process, and learning how to open portals to another world was one of the hardest things to learn, but it was the only thing that Mary cared about. As a result, Mary would often spend late nights trying to learn on her own. Fortunately, nothing happened. Usually. At most, Mary would get a sensation in her fingertips, but nothing would come of it. That was until one night she concentrated real hard on the feeling in her fingertips and managed to open a portal. However, it wasn't a portal to the monster world, but rather to hell itself. Mary stood transfixed at the scene before her, unable to look away. She stood staring at the portal for several minutes until Constantine came in and shut the portal. But it was too late. Even the tiniest glimpse into the hell dimension could drive a normal person insane, and coupled with Mary's obsession to find her friend, it made it even worse. While Constantine tried to comfort her, Mary attacked him and ran away. She pushed herself to the absolute limit to try and find the correct dimension to portal into. After many wrong attempts, Mary found her way back to the monster world, with a different mentality. Instead of accessing the monster dimension to see her childhood friend again, she went into the monster world to destroy it. Using the magic she had learned from Constantine, she brought devastation upon the world, destroying everything the monsters had built up. When the chaos settled, Mary found her friend from all those years ago, chained him up, and brought him back to Earth. ready to repeat the same process on her home world. I gotta say, I'm really happy I took on this video because I can see my superhero, super being designs, whatever, getting better, but I can also see that there's room for improvement, which is perfect because that is what art is all about. Thank you so much for the suggestion. I really had a lot of fun doing this video, and I hope you all enjoyed watching it. If you did, why not drop a like, maybe a subscribe, just, let the world know that this video exists. And if you want more from me, I've done some other superhero things, turning Nimona characters into superheroes, and there was one in my Poppy Playtime Variety episode where I turned Mommy Longlegs into a supervillain. Both those episodes I really like, although I know I've made leaps and bounds since the Nimona one. And that's all I've got for you today. My name is KyngPin Creation, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone.